significantly colder. More wintry showers across northwest England, Northern Ireland, western Scotland on Friday evening before they fade. So again, it could be a little icy. Into the weekends, we're then looking at more wet weather toppling in from the northwest, but bringing milder air back. So although there could be some snow for a time across Scotland, again, not expected to last too long. Dank and drizzly for much of Western England, Wales and Northern Ireland on Saturday, but largely dry and bright across the south and the east, and it will be milder, although it'll still be quite windy on Saturday, and there could be more snow showers in the far north. Sunday continues with strong winds, a little more rain likely across the south, and further wintry showers across the north.
GB News is the UK's home of discussion and debate
from all perspectives.
To stay up to date on the latest stories,
make sure that you subscribe to the GB News channel
right here on YouTube.
You can watch us live 24/7 across the whole world.
You can also check out exclusive content and catch up on previous episodes of your favourite shows.
Every day, we ask the questions
that you'd ask, so why not add your voice to the conversation in the comments section?
Don't forget to subscribe. We are GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every night at 11 on GB News, we bring you the next day's stories the day before.
Basically like time travel.
If it's a big story, we'll cover it, guaranteed. But we'll also have some fun along the way.
Big opinions, big laughs. Sometimes big hair.
This is
Headliners, the paper review show that won't send you to sleep like the others will.
11 p.m, 7 nights a week. Join us.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello and welcome to Headliners on GB News, TV and Radio, the show in which comedians look at tomorrow's newspapers with occasionally amusing results. My name's Dominic Frisby, I'm your host, and before we meet tonight's panellists, we go to the news, and reading it tonight is the impeccably well-articulated Polly Middlehurst.
I'm Polly Middlehurst in the GB newsroom, and your top headlines tonight. 4 senior aides to the Prime Minister have resigned tonight. Boris Johnson's Chief of Staff, Dan Rosenfield, and Principal Private Secretary Martin Reynolds both stepped down this evening. Earlier, Jack Doyle resigned as Director of Communications. It's reported they stepped down for their involvement in the Downing Street Partygate scandal. And this morning, Number 10's Policy Chief, Munira Mirza, who worked with the Prime Minister for 14 years, quit after Boris Johnson claimed Sir Keir Starmer failed to prosecute Jimmy Savile while he was Director of Public Prosecutions. The other main story today, the Chancellor Rishi Sunak says he hopes the public will be reassured by measures to help take the sting out of rising energy prices. It comes as the energy price cap is set to increase by 54%. That's from the 1st of April. Let's take a look at the figures. Direct debits for default tariffs will hit nearly £700. And the price cap on prepayments will go up by more than £2,000. Households in council tax bands A to D will therefore be given £350 to ease that burden, according to Rishi Sunak.
Our plan is right. It is fair. And I hope it will help ease the anxiety that millions of people feel about rising energy costs by sharing the burden between us all.
Rishi Sunak. Well, people are also facing higher mortgages now after the Bank of England raised interest rates to 0.5%. The bank also signalled that more hikes are likely to be on the way as the bank tries to curb inflation. It marks the central bank's first back-to-back increase since June 2004. Well, away from Downing Street, there were more resignations today, this time in Northern Ireland. The First Minister, Paul Gavin, stepped down over the post-Brexit agreement. He claims the Northern Ireland Protocol is destabilising peace between the power-sharing institutions. It comes after an order to stop all checks on agri-food goods coming across the Irish Sea border, which the EU says is a breach of international law. In international news, the Foreign Secretary condemned reports that Russia was planning to fabricate an attack by Ukraine to justify military action against it. US intelligence say they believe Russia could produce propaganda videos showing a staged attack which would give President Putin an excuse to invade. Liz Truss says it's clear and shocking evidence of Russia's unprovoked aggression. It comes as Russia criticises US plans to send more troops to Eastern Europe, describing the move as destructive. Moscow denies any plans to invade Ukraine. And today, the US President Joe Biden said the ISIS leader is no more after a raid in Syria. Abu Ibrahim al-Qurayshi reportedly detonated a bomb just as US forces approached during an overnight raid. He killed himself and at least 13 others around him, including his own wife and children. There were no US casualties reported. Now, researchers at Bristol University have developed flying robots the size of insects with flapping wings, known as micro-air vehicles. They're better than other drones, apparently, at manoeuvring in tight spaces and resisting air turbulence. The new technology can be used for search and rescue and dangerous environments like collapsed buildings. On TV, online and on your radio via DAB+, you're with GB News. Now it's time for Headliners.
Thank you, Polly. Top diction as always. Now, welcome to Headliners, the show in which comedians review the papers, thereby saving you the bother of having to read them yourself. My name's Dominic Frisby, I'm your host, and tonight's guests are the annoyingly sensible voice of reason, Steve N. Allen. Hello, Steve.
Hello, it's on business cards.
Yeah, and the reasonably sensible voice of annoyance, Josh Howie. Hello, Josh.
Hey, mate. I'm wearing a tie.
You are, yeah. It's very good. You've upgraded.
Well, I knew I was on with both of you, so I thought, I've got to up my game.
It looks like one of Steve's cast-offs.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
In fact, your tie goes better with his jacket than...
Oh, man.
If you want, I've got nothing else.
It looks good. It's good.
I really made an effort this time.
Where did you get it, the tie?
I don't know, from school. It's been about 20 years or something, 30 years.
Is that your house or something?
Yeah, exactly. Wow. The depressing grey house.
Good stuff. Right, gents, we're going to crack straight on. We've done the greetings in a witty and amusing way. Josh took care of that, so I didn't have to do it. And we go, as always, to the headlines, and we start the headlines with the Daily Mail, which has meltdown in Downing Street. Will the last one to leave please turn out the lights? A reference Sun readers of 1992 will remember, and not one that bodes well for Boris. The Telegraph has the big squeeze, referring to the rising cost of living. Energy specifically, a story we'll be covering in just a moment. And it has more pressure on Johnson as 4 top aides quit in one day. Another story we'll be covering in a moment. The Guardian has PM quit by number 10 exodus as 4 aides quit in one day. That should be PM hit. And households braced for further fuel bill rises. The Financial Times says household budgets suffer biggest blow in 3 decades. And there's also a picture of Mark Zuckerberg looking pensive after the value of his personal stock holdings declined by tens of billions of dollars as Facebook, or maybe I should call it Meta, crashed yesterday and today. The Mirror has, they're all laughing, accusing the Tories of laughing in the face of this cost of living squeeze. The Times has Britain's facing biggest dropping living standards, and head of ISIS dies in raid by US forces. Both stories we'll be looking at in a moment. The Sun has just the word ouch, and when one headline, one word, tells two stories at the same time, the purge at Downing Street and the energy price inflation. And finally, our favourite as always, The Star, which focuses on the stories that matter. Give us all your money or the knickknacks get it, referring to the hack of KP snacks with ransomware. Another story we'll be covering. And those are tonight's headlines. Well, what a day for Boris Johnson. First up, David Davis says he's going to submit a formal letter of no confidence. Then Rishi Sunak repeatedly refused to rule out running for the leadership in a BBC interview. Then his policy chief, we're in the afternoon now, Munira Mirza resigned over the Jimmy Savile smear. Then we're at about 5 o'clock. Sunak criticised Boris over the Savile smear. Then his director of communications, Jack Doyle, quits. And then his principal private secretary, Martin Reynolds, now dubbed Party Marty, and his chief of staff, Dan Rosenfield, are resigned over Partygate. A long and hard day. I imagine he's going to have a couple of glasses of wine and maybe a few whiskies as well.
Boy, is he still at work?
The PM never stops working.
Yeah,
Steve.
I guess so. Yeah, what a day he's had. He's lost more AIDS than a hard of hearing OAP on a waltzer. Must be embarrassing. This is 4 people resigning, which means 4 more leaving dues. That's not going to play well, is it? There's so many different stories within it, and it's difficult to know how many of these stories, like the Jimmy Savile side of it, that particular drum, was that a dead cat to throw on the table to pull from Partygate?
Just define dead cat for us. This is the new political buzzword.
Yes, the idea that you want people to stop talking about something, you throw a dead cat on the table, and all of a sudden everyone's talking about the dead cat. Trouble is, they're now talking about this really bad dead cat.
I do it all the time.
A lot of
but
dead cats?
I do. Yeah, absolutely. It's like it's worth it just to, like, guys. Can we?
Do you actually throw a dead cat, or you use
I'm
the
like,
metaphor?
I don't want to spend. I don't want to talk about why I spent all my money on board games. Throw the dead cat.
I've had
on.
an affair. But that's the problem. Eventually, the dead cat becomes such an embarrassment that people resign over that next thing you'll need a dead cat to distract from a dead cat. This seems like a downward spiral, and it's not going to go well.
Yeah, and I guess we're so used to media manipulation now, we know a dead cat when we see one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were told to say that.
Were we?
You didn't get the memo?
Oh, no. That's
wow,
not a dead
okay,
cat.
fine.
There are loads of things going on, and the interesting thing about the Jimmy Savile thing is he does actually have a reasonable argument, because if Starmer was in charge and the buck stops with the man in charge, then Boris has actually got a reasonable argument. But it is so blatantly a distraction that he's sort of undermined his own
It's not even
case.
really a reasonable argument. Starmer did launch an inquiry, went on to find out exactly how it done it. Basically, it turns out a bunch of policemen were all kind of starstruck. There was a lawyer who basically didn't push it far enough and should have, who resigned afterwards. Keir Starmer had absolutely no connection to any of this evidence, didn't see anything. And I just want to say something here. Every time I read about this...
He loves Keir Starmer.
I don't love Keir Starmer. I just want to say, look, I just want to say this one thing, right? Well, it's not that I love Keir Starmer. I hate Corbynites 1,000 times more. And I just want to say, every paper I read, and this is reading it in the Times here, it says the conspiracy theory has been widely shared on far-left internet forums. That may be the truth, but where I see it all the time is far-left Corbynite cranks. They ring this stuff up all the time. Every time anybody writes anything about Keir Starmer, they're the ones who come in with this, like, oh, he was, what about Jimmy Savile and whatever. That's the people I see it coming from.
What can I say? The Boris dead cat has worked, because suddenly we're no longer talking about Boris. It's all about...
God, he got me again, Boris! Stop with those cats! RSPCA need to get a call right now.
Scott Kapura was on the show yesterday, said Boris won't make it past the weekend. Will he make it past the weekend?
It's looking but then you know what? Every week now it's been like a little bit further.
It's just so much pressure.
But I think these people resigning
It's worth saying the last 2 were resigned.
Yeah.
He's having a clear out after Sue Gray and all that, and the party game. So
Which fits his previous narrative of no one told me this was against the rules. Finally, start sacking the people who didn't tell you what the rules were that you just talked about on TV, and you can clear out all this mess.
Right, let's move on to our next story, related. Here is my handy guide on how to have runaway inflation in energy costs. 1, levy taxes on one form of energy to pay for another, which isn't yet reliable. 2, fix prices. 3, stop the development of domestic gas supplies and leave yourself vulnerable to overseas markets. 4, don't develop nuclear power. 5, shut down coal power stations. And most importantly of all, 6, print lots and lots of money. That is what successive governments have done, and Rishi Sunak is going to fix the problem with yet more intervention. What is that intervention, Josh?
Well, you just solved it. Well, if only we could go back in time. So, yes, this is the...
I will say I was saying it at the time. In my Money
sure.
Week column, which I know you read.
Yes, and well done. It's nice to be proven right.
Those far-left Corbyn
I'm going to take those.
columns.
I'm going to take all those columns and I'm going to use them for heat as I burn them to survive through the next 2 years. So, yes, today energy bills were confirmed. We've known this is coming for a long time. They've gone up about £700 per household. And for particularly, obviously, low-income households, that's £50 a month. That's a big deal. That's a big increase on living costs.
I'll say, and it's going to be felt, like the NI increases that everyone's arguing about, it's deducted at source, it's 250, 300 quid over the course of a year. Most people won't really notice. But this one, it's not deducted at source, you're paying the money.
And it's just
and
constantly
you feel the cost.
coming out.
And this is going to really hurt the Tories, I think.
It's going to hurt people?
Yeah, well, that too.
Yeah, I mean,
if you care about such things,
obviously, it's scary. It's scary for a lot of people, as they're saying here. This is set to be the worst. Real incomes are going to be hit worse since records began in 1990.
Inflation's at its highest since 1990.
And that's bad. What I don't
understand. In fact, if you use the old measure of inflation, inflation's even higher than it was in 1990.
Really? Well, thank you for terrifying me even more. Rishi Sunak, though, he said that he couldn't do anything about the actual bills because he said adding to if he was to manipulate it, it would be dishonest. And I was like, is that really a problem that you're at the moment with this government? So he has announced a couple of measures that are supposedly helping. There's going to be this £200, but essentially a loan that will be paid back £40 a year. And then £150 council tax rebate. I don't know.
But how do they pay for the loan? More taxes. So you pay one way or the other.
I mean, maybe chase down that $4 billion that you've just kind of let people steal from the government over the last year or so. What about getting some of those hundreds of millions back from the from wasted?
You are
masks?
fiery, Josh. Today you are fiery. I don't know what you've been eating for dinner, but you are.
It's this tie. I know why he's got the tie now.
Right, Steve, you go ranting. Right, it's your turn to rant.
And another thing, I mean, they'll make some money back on this charging 5% VAT on something that now costs more. So they'll get more money in. As much as they stand there saying, oh, it's terrible, isn't it? They're also financially benefiting from it. But that 200 quid loan is way less help than they're making it sound. That's like... Because being a northerner, paying London prices for beer has always been a very painful experience for me. The idea of someone saying 10 quid for a pint, but don't worry, you only have to clear the tab at the end of the session. You still have to pay this money. You're not as useful. They're not being as...
10 quid for a pint, but you get given 2 quid back.
Yeah, there's the rebate. So, yeah, I mean, it's the number of people... we all sit around and moan about the prices that we'll be paying, of course, because it'll still hurt and be annoying, but it's those extra 2 million people who tip over the line into that fuel poverty. We shouldn't be in a nation where people can't afford to have heat. If you're running a country where people can't afford heating, you're probably not running it well.
Absolutely, and my overall final word on this, it's a problem of excess intervention. And excess intervention will not be solved by more intervention.
I sense a column coming on.
Sounds deep. Right, Steve, more problems for Boris. This is from the Telegraph. Paul Given, First Minister of Northern Ireland, has resigned.
Yeah, it feels this needs a recap previously on this news story. So, Edwin Poots, the DUP Agricultural Minister, said he had taken legal advice that the protocols, the checks needed to be run past the Northern Ireland Executive, so he thought, time to cancel them. The checks are still happening, so Paul then quits, which then forces the resignation of his deputy, Sinn Féin's Michelle O'Neill, which then leaves the Northern Ireland Assembly paralysed ahead of a May the 5th, election, but they say they might need to bring that forward now because nothing's going to happen. And by the way, this is with Brexit getting done. Imagine how bad this would have been if Brexit hadn't been got done, or whatever that sentence should be. And it's
You sound suspiciously like a Ramona.
Do I? It's the intractable... You're not going to sing a song, are you?
I might just have to.
He's got that ukulele, it's hidden back here, ready to come out.
It's the intractable issue of... It's trying to sort out the way in which the markets can overlap. It's a Venn diagram that makes no sense. It's a flawed syllogism where two sides can't meet the other one.
Syllogism?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You are raising... Maybe we shouldn't have...
I'm going to need another tie here, because this tie is not bringing me the necessary IQ to match this guy.
I got praise from back there for using the word confluence in one of the scripts. But
oh my
guys,
please stop it. I've got glasses, but I'm not actually intelligent at all. This is not good.
What is a syllogism?
It's a logical sentence where where one point is inferred by two. It's the classic... No, if I go into the classic one, it's boring. But the classic is someone is a man, men are mortal, therefore that person is mortal. So you can imply an attribute by your logical statements. But you don't have... The two things can't overlap here. You need the Republic of Ireland to be in the EU. You need the Northern Ireland to have no border with the UK and there to be no border on the island of Ireland. The maths don't make sense. It's a Venn diagram that can't overlap.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a cluster flip. I can't even begin to pretend to understand it.
I think the trick is to get to the onomatopoeia of the
onomatopoeia.
Onomatopoeia of the story.
The nexus.
Yes, thank you. And it's so complicated, and that's why it's like you had the Good Friday Agreement. Somehow they did it. Somehow they made peace, and it's like this. Don't mess with it. And I am a Ramona, and it's like, that's part of the reason. Just leave that all alone, because don't start picking up this little bit here and there, because that was a good thing that happened. And it's scary, again, to think that... And Boris is doing his usual kind of like, oh, let's just take common, sensible, practical steps. No.
Right, on no other newspaper review show will you hear such big, long words. We are going to take a break now for some ads and to recover from the new vocabulary, scrutinise the ads, buy their products and fund us. And then join us for part 2, in which you will discover whether or not you should be buying Facebook shares.
GB News is the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
To stay up to date on the latest stories,
make sure that you subscribe to the GB News channel
right here on YouTube.
You can watch us live 24/7 across the whole world.
You can also check out exclusive content and catch up on previous episodes of your favourite shows.
Every day, we ask the questions
that you'd ask, so why not add your voice to the conversation in the comments section?
Don't forget to subscribe. We are GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every night at 11 on GB News, we bring you the next day's stories the day before.
It's basically like time travel.
If it's a big story, we'll cover it, guaranteed. But we'll also have some fun along the way.
Big opinions, big laughs. Sometimes big hair.
This is
Headliners, the paper review show that won't send you to sleep like the others will.
11 p.m, 7 nights a week. Join us.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for...
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. Lots of stories tonight, and helping me make sense of them, we have former chemist Steve N. Allen and future chemist Josh Howie.
I don't even know what that means.
Nor do I. But it sounded clever. Yeah. Now, so too tonight, I feel that after Steve's show there, we have to sound clever at all times. So too tonight's first story from The Sun, and a lot to unpick here, Steve, as the ISIS leader blew himself and his family up after using his kids as human shields. Is that The Sun spinning that, or did he really do that?
Well, we think he really did that. It's not The Sun spinning it. I suppose a cynical person could imply it might be America spinning it, but I'm not that cynical person. I mean, if the headline here is leader of a terrorist organisation is bad person, I'm already on board. So I suppose I'm not surprised by that. But this is, the leader of ISIS blew himself up, but rather than being captured, deciding to detonate this, which, because of the place he was in, killed women and children. And it's, obviously a terrible person. If ever you've looked at your partner and thought, am I married to a good guy? In comparison, this really sets the bar low for the kind of scum that you can be. Biden says the third floor of when they went in, he blew up that entire floor rather than face the justice for the crimes that he committed. But then Biden, 24 hours ago, people were worried about these extra deaths. Who would have been responsible for causing them? Was it the American people sent in? It looks like the result of this news story is that it wasn't. But again, how do we really know? But I don't see a reason not to believe.
So, Josh, he flew them in the darkness of the night. They landed all the paratroopers. They came in and took out the head of ISIS. And Biden watched the whole thing on television.
Well, it's like that. There's the film where, the film where they killed bin Laden. It sounds like a very similar thing. But this operation, it was 2 hours long. So he had plenty of time. It wasn't like a surprise hit where they could get in the bin Laden one. It's like they just rock up and they sneak in, and it sounds like this time there was like lots of operations going. They're blowing up buildings from the outside, so he had plenty of time to do that. That is obviously is a tragedy, women and children. It should be pointed out that this is an evil human being, and he was the person who spearheaded the campaign to the abducted, raped, and slaughtered all the Yazidis in Iraq. So, he had it coming to him. I'm glad that he's dead, personally. It's a shame that innocents also had to die, of course.
Yeah,
but
to use kids, not only kids, your own kids.
Yeah.
To protect you from the blast. Anyway, that just strikes me as extraordinary. And anyway, the Independent is next, and Josh, you're no doubt mourning the decline in the value of your extensive portfolio of tech stocks.
Oh yeah, this is a real... Every time stocks go down, I'm like, yahoo! Yeah, rich people, take that. And then I remember my dad's basically my only chance for the future. So I was like, wait a minute, this might affect me a little bit. So, yeah, you said that in that photo he looked pensive. I don't know how you could tell, because he's had some serious...
I don't believe that photo was taken that day.
Okay.
I think it was taken from some photo.
There's no emotional change ever in him, whether he's lost tens of billions overnight. This has to be said, it is part of, from what I understand, I know you're the expert, I don't want to step on your toes, but this is part of a wider trend, I think.
All right, man.
All right, mate. I just, I know you get a little bit punchy when anyone starts talking about money. And
you mention Bitcoin, he'll take you down.
I know, he's like, don't talk about money. That's my column. But tech stuff seems like has been affected over a lot. And there is an argument that it's been grossly inflated for a long time now.
It has been. It's been hugely inflated ever since the lockdown, basically. It's been an incredible boom.
You talk for 10 minutes. We're just going to have a little nap.
OK. I can tell you, just because everyone started, tech just had this incredible boom from March the 20th, March the 23rd, I think it was, 2020. And just because everyone was buying everything on Amazon, using Facebook more than ever, Zoom was an incredible investment. And it just got way, way, way inflated. And for the last maybe 3 or 6 months, the smaller caps have been falling behind the scenes, but Facebook, Amazon, Google stayed strong, Alphabet. And then now the mega caps are sliding as well. Facebook, but 25% down in one day. And in terms of dollar terms, I think it was $200 billion loss of value, which was the biggest loss of value by any company in one day ever.
Wow,
and it was on poor earnings.
I kind of tuned out at mega cap or something. I was like,
that means really
I made it
big.
that far. Okay, mega. But
I thought you were going to praise me.
No, that was really good. I sort of understood it. I was like, okay, so is this a good time to go in Facebook? Do you think it's now gone under?
Well, whenever you get a bull market, you get a huge narrative. There's a story that comes with it. And then when the bull market breaks, you just have to go. There's a crash and then there's a period of consolidation. So I don't think it's going to. Probably not now. I actually bought it today, and I got stopped out because it fell even further. But I mean, Facebook is going to conquer the world. It's an incredibly powerful network. You think of how many. It's got more. Facebook has more users. I think half the Indian population equivalent. No, double the Indian population equivalent use Facebook or something extraordinary. 3 billion users.
I've sort of felt like a girl at a bar. Like you were chatting me up using all your financial advice.
We have to move on, much as I love talking about this kind of thing. The Times is next, and Steve, drugs companies have been fined for rigging the markets.
Yeah, this is really bad. I mean, it would be bad if it was simply drugs companies rigging the market, but when you get the details, they were fined £35 million for fixing the price of a drug used by NHS cancer patients so that they can not throw up all the time because of the medicines they have to take to try and deal with the cancer. I mean, there's got to be a special place in hell for those who find not only a way to profit off of those with cancer, but an unfair way to profit.
Yeah, I mean, they're profiting from the NHS and its incompetence rather than those with cancer. But yeah, it's pretty sordid. Tell us the price of what the drug originally was and then what they started charging for it once they colluded.
So if you wanted to get some of this prochlorperazine, this antiemetic, you could get 3 milligrams dissolvable tablets. It would have cost you £6.49. Well, still, you know, it's on the expensive side, you think. You know, it's not a paracetamol, but it's then 51 quid after it goes up by 700% because they had an agreement not to take some brands off the market and then for other companies to not make a cheaper competitor for it. And there's some really evil bit in there where you get the details of how they were making some of the plans. In documents published as part of earlier investigations, they said that it was below radar of health officials because health officials were paying attention to the big ticket items, that doing this kind of shenanigans, they knew it would. So they were doing it willfully and deliberately.
I promise you this stuff goes on all the time in the world of medicine because there's just so much intervention. It's such an easy system to play. And in a year or two, we're going to find out about all the corruption and the double dealing over the vaccines, I'm sure.
But this all came out because of the Times investigation. So, I mean, can you imagine if they hadn't actually discovered all this stuff? And it seems to be, from what I'm reading, is that it's private equity firms that buy the medicine, buy the contracts for it, and then that's when they try and game the system. So it's
they're trying to profit as much as possible, as legally as possible, and it's when you've got these sort of public-private markets, one, you know, the public company in the form of the NHS, and then the private market supplying to the NHS. And when you get this mix of public and private, that's when all this crony capitalism is what we call it, comes into play.
Disgusting.
Whenever there is a football story, we turn to Josh Howie, who knows about as much about the subject as I do about Outer Mongolian topography. This is from The Independent, Josh.
Can I say the word onomatopoeia again?
Yes, you may.
That will help me somehow get through this. So there's a team called Wraith Rovers.
Wraith Rovers.
Thank you.
And where is Wraith Rovers from?
I'm going to guess Scotland.
Correct.
Because Gordon Brown, that's his team.
Which bit of Scotland?
Near Edinburgh.
Correct. I thought you'd say Wraith, but there is no place called Wraith.
Oh, well, okay, I got away with that one.
Kirkcaldy.
It's actually kind of a bit of a... Well, it's a serious story and also a bit of a depressing story. This footballer, this guy called David Goodwillie.
Goodwillie.
Yeah.
Not such a good Willie.
Well, this is... there was a civil case where he was found guilty, him and another footballer were found guilty of rape. And they paid the victim £100,000. And then this team were going to hire him, which kind of seems unbelievable. And then a bunch of people spoke up, and including the writer Val McDermid.
Don't know.
Anyway, high profile, yeah. And fortunately, they've done a U-turn on their decision. But it's kind of amazing that they were going to hire him in the first place.
Extraordinary decision, yeah. Any thoughts on this one, Steve?
No, I totally agree, really. So there's no point wasting time just saying the same thing again. Yeah, what a bad decision that you should have seen coming down the path. But
yeah, it's like, oh, this guy's really cheap, and I wonder why. Maybe do a little bit of research.
Yeah, exactly. Right, the Guardian reports that the WHO, the WHO, Steve, it reports that we've reached a ceasefire in the war on COVID.
Yes, a long period of tranquility could be happening. It's time to relax. So this is from the World Health Organization. Time to rejoice. It's because of the amount of natural immunity, vaccinated immunity, the issues to do with, although you have many cases, you don't have as much hospitalisation. These things added together means that apparently we could be heading into a nice, peaceful time. Yeah, I say rejoice, then get angry about podcast masks. I think we're all addicted to the anger more than we're addicted to actually solving the pandemic. So I'm sure people will still be upset. But
about us at GB News.
Everyone.
Number 10 has given us plenty to get angry about.
Yeah, that's true. But it says, in an upbeat assessment, the phrase is that the death rate has plateaued. What a time to be alive, where an upbeat assessment has to have the phrase plateau of death. So, I mean, it is good, and I just hope that we actually use this time, make hay while the sun shines, and don't just rest and think, well, we've got it sorted. Whilst the level of vaccination we have could give us some form of immunity over other variants, that's going to be the big issue. So if we have any spare vaccine or any reason to make this happen, we need to get the vaccines into people who come from countries where they're having issues with vaccination. Otherwise, we're just going to sit here blindly until another variant comes along that no one can predict when or particularly which bits gets changed through the mutations. And then we could be in a non-tranquil period.
Unless COVID is just getting weaker and weaker with each variant.
In the long run, definitely. I mean, I suppose that's the presumption. Although there are evolutionary pressures for viruses to become less deadly and more transmissible, because it's actually a step forward. But it's not as if it always happens in the short term. You can't guarantee the next mutation will have that, but just across time, it's the trend.
I feel that as Leo Kirst and Nick Dixon aren't here, I feel like I should speak up on their behalf. This is mentioned near the end of the article, but the cancer rates of the discovery of cancer, it's gone down 44%, diagnosis of invasive tumours in Belgium, 44% in 2020. And in Spain, the number of cancers diagnosed in 2020 was 34% lower than expected.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a ticking time bomb there.
Absolutely. Right. We say ceasefire in the war on COVID, but not according to the Mirror. If you are a dog, Josh.
Now, I'm a bit scared. I was got a bit... You talk about football stories. Where I got into... The only time I've ever, received proper, hate from doing the show was when I made a comment about dogs with you. I was like, someone got very angry with me. And then also about tennis the other week. I said just a stupid joke about tennis, and a bunch of people go, Josh Howie's an idiot, and what does he know about tennis? Yeah, I don't know anything about tennis, so I'm a little bit scary talking about this. I think the whole reason this article has been written in the Mirror is because it mentions the word coronavirus. And then you read the whole thing, and then it's like, oh, but it's not this coronavirus, and it's another thing, and basically some dogs up north are pooing.
Yeah, there's a load of dogs have been taken ill, and they think there might be doggy coronavirus.
Yeah, but really, that's the story. But really, it's just a different type of virus, and some dogs up in Yorkshire have got diarrhea.
They are. I think they're.
Send in your hate tweets now.
Right, we're going to go... have you got any comments on doggy diarrhea, Steve, or can we move on to our next story?
Just that it's good to know it's a different coronavirus strand, because I would have been swabbing my dog.
Yeah, and you'd be closing the schools, wouldn't you? Waiting for
the dog schools. Let's try and get it to wear a mask.
Right, The Times is next, and a lone hacker, PX4, has taken out North Korea. I think this is you again, Josh.
It's me, yeah.
Steve, we skipped one.
Yeah, this is kind of amazing. So, basically, they don't have many websites in North Korea, but what they did have, the websites they have come under attack. Now, everyone thought it was some reaction from a foreign government, probably America, for the missile tests that have been going on over the last few months. Turns out it's worse than that, scarier than that. It's a bloke in his pajamas at home who's watching alien movies, supposedly, and he's angry because they tried to hack him and steal some of his software or something. So he's like, you know what? No one hacks me. No one hacks P4X.
And he's taken out, I think it's PX4, he's taken out North Korea.
P4X, yeah.
Was it you, Steve?
No, I could barely sniff packets on a Wi-Fi network these days. My hacking skills are not as good as they used to be.
Impressed you even had them.
Yeah. Only for WEP encryption. Anyone with a Linux could hack that back in the day. Now I can't keep up with it.
Anyone with a Linux. I don't even know what that means. Actually, I do know what it means.
But we need to remember that the Sony hack was apparently attributed to North Korea. So while we presume that they're running their internet off ZX Spectrums, they do have some good tech.
Some of them have got Apple.
They've got an Acorn.
That's what I know.
The Amstrad.
Onomatopoeia.
Emailer. Yeah, so you just thought that they're technologically more advanced than you would imagine. So it's easy to set up that story thinking, oh, they don't have any tech, it must be easy to hack them. No, I imagine it's a really difficult job, but that's the thing. The internet has really democratised where you can do your crime from, as you say, in your pyjamas.
It is a totally free market, and that is a beautiful thing, unless you've been hacked. Right, part 2 is over, I'm sorry to report. The weather is next, and then ads, and then you will be joining us for part 3, which has lots of juicy stories, including one on the London postman seen wandering the streets of Clapham in a daze, having been given space cake. Was that you, Josh? We're going to take a break. See you in a moment.
Good evening. The weather's on the change. A much colder feel tomorrow. That colder air arriving as wet and windy weather sweeps south overnight. Cold enough for some ice and snow in places also. It's a cold front swinging south across the country overnight, pushing away the mild air that's been with us for a number of days and introducing the much colder conditions out on the wind tomorrow, and it will feel significantly chillier. There's that weather front bringing rain across northern England and Wales overnight, but some snow likely over the hills of northern England and certainly across the hills and mountains of Wales. Following on, there'll be showers, they'll be wintry, and that could turn things icy as temperatures tumble. Staying pretty mild across East Anglia and the southeast through the night, but here as well and across the Midlands, as the wet weather arrives, there could, for a time, be a little bit of snow in places. Probably not going to last too long, but maybe noticeable for that morning commute before that wet weather swings away. Still icy potentially through the morning across western Scotland and Northern Ireland as the showers keep going here. Snow on the hills, but even to low levels. Some snow possible over Northern England, Northern Ireland, western Scotland. Elsewhere, sunny spells, the odd shower, but a cold feel. Single-digit temperatures. Add on that wind, it feels significantly colder. More wintry showers across northwest England, Northern Ireland, western Scotland on Friday evening before they fade. So again, it could be a little icy. Into the weekends, we're then looking at more wet weather toppling in from the northwest, but bringing milder air back. So although there could be some snow for a time across Scotland, again, not expected to last too long. Dank and drizzly for much of western England, Wales and Northern Ireland on Saturday, but largely dry and bright across the south and the east, and it will be mild, although it'll still be quite windy on Saturday, and there could be more snow showers in the far north. Sunday continues with strong winds, a little more rain likely across the south, and further wintry showers across the north.
GB News is the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
To stay up to date on the latest stories,
make sure that you subscribe to the GB News channel
right here on YouTube.
You can watch us live 24/7 across the whole world.
You can also check out exclusive content and catch up on previous episodes of your favourite shows.
Every day, we ask the questions
that you'd ask, so why not add your voice to the conversation in the comments section?
Don't forget to subscribe. We are GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every night at 11 on GB News, we bring you the next day's stories the day before.
It's basically like time travel.
If it's a big story, we'll cover it, guaranteed. But we'll also have some fun along the way.
Big opinions, big laughs. Sometimes big hair.
This is
Headliners, the paper review show that won't send you to sleep like the others will.
11 p.m, 7 nights a week. Join us.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon
and Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back to part 3 of Headliners. Lots to get through, so let's not dilly-dally. We go straight to the Telegraph. And Steve, intense directed energy pulses.
Oh, I didn't know you knew my online username. The Havana Syndrome. Maybe you've heard of this. This is where, especially diplomats, turning up to a place that's warm and sunny and there's got great bars, ended up feeling rough. Now, my guess would have been they were enjoying it. But apparently, there was this presumption that some sort of secret weapon was being used to make all of these people feel ill. Thousands of cases. But, just to ruin it straight away, most of them, you can find medical reasons for. It whittles down to about a dozen that has no explanation. But now, the US intelligence say that directed energy could be the reason. They don't think that it's some foreign actor who's conducted a sustained worldwide campaign. But they do think it could be some form of weapon that either puts electromagnetic radiation projected towards someone, especially around the radio frequency range. It's 5G.
Again?
No, this is... I
think it's 5G?
No, I mean, I shouldn't...
I get excited.
They were right. That forum I was reading.
But also it could be ultrasound as well, making people feel a bit giddy. They don't know what it is, but they say we're not looking for attribution or assigning it to foreign adversary. Sounds like it's the guy from Rumbelows who could do the biggest damage here.
The Mirror's next, and possibly the greatest sailor ever to have lived, Captain Cook. He discovered Australia and New Zealand and then has regretted it ever since. And his ship was HMS Endeavour. It was scuttled during the US War of Independence, but they may have just found it. Josh, do you know what scuttling means?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. So, yeah, this is... I mean, I guess it is quite exciting if you're into boats and things like that. But, you know, it's that's a properly famous ship.
Yeah.
And they found it in America, Rhode Island, in the harbour there. It was actually sunk, though, in the American War of Independence in 1877. The British purposely sank it, which is probably why they lost the war, because you don't sink your own ships.
Well, they sank it because the French were coming into the port and they were trying to block French.
I did read that bit. It was a joke. Anyway, but thanks, guys. Look at these history buffs coming on me. Excuse me, Joshua. Thank you. So the Rhode Island Marine Archaeology Project, REMAP, and this is what their quote is, they recognise the connections between the Australian citizens of British descent and the Endeavour, but REMAP's conclusions will be driven by a proper scientific process and not Australian emotions or politics. Ooh, REMAP is kicking ass.
I think by the end of its career, it was just shuttling cargo back and forth to, of all places, the Falklands. So I doubt there's any treasure on there or anything.
No, but still, it's gonna be. It would be cool to like bring it up and to have it as a.
Yeah, no, it would be cool.
Yeah, it's still...
not for Aborigines.
And Steve, where did they find it?
Well, because they found it where they sank it, so it just feels like, oh, big news story. Did you not look down before? It seems the direction I would have gone in.
It's as though they hired a PR person to get some publicity to the story. Call me a conspiracy theorist. Right, Steve, they're going to take down a historic bridge in Rotterdam so Jeff Bezos can get his yacht through.
Yes, they need to take the bridge down because that's where they're building the yacht, this Y721. I mean, for that much money, you'd want a catchier name. This huge...
That's the name of his girlfriend.
It's the name of Elon Musk's next kid, I imagine. But, yeah, I mean, I drive a small car, so I don't even like trying to park that thing. So I've got nothing in common with this Bezos guy with the world's biggest yacht. This super yacht is so big, it has a secondary yacht. It's a yacht that's got its own yacht. You need a support yacht for the main yacht because you can't just land your helicopter on the main yacht. That sentence shouldn't even exist. When you're sat down ordering a yacht and you say that out loud, how do you not find yourself to be at least a little bit ridiculous?
Do you think he's looking at HMS Endeavour and his yacht and thinking, oh, I should have just taken Endeavour?
Should have looked. It was probably down there all along.
Any thoughts on...
Yeah, well, it's just like they're basically saying they've got their schedule for the bridge bit in there. They'd say, after that week, we're going to move the middle and with a bit of luck, we'll have it back. And I just thought it was Amazon here. Why don't they just say estimated delivery time 2 to 3 days? Thank you very much.
The Mail is next, and it seems a lot of women regret having children. Is this the case with Mrs. Howie?
Give her a call.
Your mum.
We still married? You can't leave me. That's the genius of 5 kids. She just, she can't get an Uber big enough. That's what I say. So, yeah, this is someone went on to Mumsnet, which has been a bit of a centre of controversy this week for some comments about a different discussion about trans rights or not. And but someone went on and said, if you knew what you knew now, having children, would you do it? And lots of different responses here. Someone here said, I wouldn't have had them if I'd known the trials and tribulations have been so huge. That's from Halfsey on a pot noodle. Wait a minute, that's my mum's call sign. So I'm really happy having kids. I love it. You know.
Yeah. I don't regret any of them.
Yeah, I mean, I know you like your dog.
3 of the 4. Right?
Yeah, and Stephen here is having his first child coming up, which is very exciting. He doesn't like to talk about private things.
When's it due?
Start of March.
Congratulations! So it's imminent.
Yeah. And I've decided we've not gone through that way of everyone these days says we're pregnant. We're not pregnant because we weren't stopping drinking. So we've kept that very simple.
And what pretentious name do you have for this child? Can you reveal that yet?
Yes, Y732, but that Bezos guy's nicked it for his yacht.
Every time, very on trend.
Dominic is a great name. The Mirror is next. And as if North Korea wasn't enough, KP Snacks has also been hit by hackers, Josh.
Yeah.
Well, this is Steve's story.
Yeah,
I'll happily go to it.
No, I just need to... Because remember when shortages were not enough vegetables, not enough salad? I coped, and I don't know how, but I was OK with that. But now, thanks to some hacking, we could see a shortage of hula hoops, Space Raiders, skips, butter-kissed pom bears, knickknacks and KP nuts. Well, what am I going to eat then? It's ransomware attack. I say just pay the money. Because you've got some Bitcoin, give them some of that. Yeah. Anything, because we need to have some of this food. It's taken them offline. They say...
Why do they even need a website? Surely they can...
No,
I think this is for like delivering all their tools to shops.
Yeah. You don't just got to order my crisps online. But then it's messed with this. They say that society is 3 meals away from anarchy. Turns out we're fewer snacks away from it, because this is serious. And they've described ransomware, which I always thought was when the computer program will encrypt part of a hard drive. You want to get access to it again, you've got to pay the money. But it also says there's a type of it where this computer worm will have lots of pop-ups that show you indecent pictures. I mean, how is that going to slow you down?
Giving me the munchies. I think this is obviously another dead cat. So this is Boris Johnson. He's sent out the MI5 to really distract the nation, and then they can deliver all the snacks to everyone, and then everyone's happy again, and let's give them another 6 months.
I mean, I can't see Parliament functioning without KP Snacks.
But I feel a bit scary doing this story because the British people love to stockpile. So it's you mentioned one petrol station going down, you mentioned the pasta. I mean, tomorrow all of the hula hoops are going to be gone. Space Raiders are safe. I think they're going to be all right. But skips and butterkiss. This is some scary times we're living in.
I didn't realise KP had all those brands.
I think I'm going to go to a 24-hour petrol station after this.
The Metro is next, and stoned posties in Clapham, Josh. Possibly the best story ever to have come on headliners.
Yes. So Royal Mail, they've launched an investigation. There was a video, and it showed, postmen walking around, staggering in the street after accidentally eating brownies there. So accidentally there in quote tweets, just like the BBC News, every time they do any story about Jewish people, they put everything anti-Semitism, BBC. And there was a box which had Pablo Chocobar on the front.
Is that a well-known brand of space cake? We used to call it space cake. Do people still call it space cake?
I don't know, but I think this was sent in the post and then it was just left on the side because it didn't have labelling or something.
I think it's a play on words of Pablo Escobar.
I think so. Thank you. I think I've been eating too many of those cakes.
I was told I'm next to you, you're not supposed to identify that a producer is talking in my ear, but I was told by the producer to say that.
Okay,
was not me.
Yes, that's exactly what. Of course, that's what it is. And but I didn't realise this.
Surely there would be cocaine in it rather than hash.
Well, that's exactly.
That's the big problem with this story.
With the theme. Yeah, they got the name totally wrong. But it's interesting that I didn't realise that they leave these packages and then it seems like they just kind of eat stuff or take stuff if it doesn't get delivered anywhere. And that's what happened. This package was left on the side for a month, and that could be the excuse. It could have been someone having a little office prank, which would be
very funny. And there's apparently a video on the internet of all these postmen wandering around Clapham, not knowing where they are.
Clapham, you didn't get your post. That might be why.
They've all got to be on something. The fact they walk around in the middle of the winter wearing just shorts. That's the action of someone who's had some sort of a substance.
Mine's always got earphones on, and I wonder if he's listening to Joe Rogan or he was probably listening to Bob Marley today, but in one of the Clapham ones were. But anyway, that was
Yeah.
Right.
You should do that after all of your jokes.
Whatever. Well, polite to laugh. Help a man out when he's down.
Sorry.
Right, now, now Steve, if you had 300 grand to spend, would you spend it shaving the bottoms off doors so as to increase airflow in school classrooms?
I've never even met any members of the Doors. So, yeah, this is a scheme that they've come up with because airflow, carbon dioxide monitors, you've got to try and make sure that there's lots of fresh air in these places. One of the plans is to plane off a little bit of the door. Make it, I don't know how far they're taking it up, like a full Western saloon door. I don't know that. It's a let more air in. Other ideas include telling children to breathe out less. That would solve the carbon dioxide. Teaching, not humans, teach houseplants.
I thought this was to do with COVID.
It is, yeah.
Oh, OK.
But the way to tell whether there's a lot of ventilation in a place is to measure the carbon dioxide.
Ah, OK.
So that's why they've got carbon dioxide monitors. My suggestion is don't waste the money trimming the bit off the doors, just lower the floor. And same benefit, but it won't look so stupid.
Can I save the SNP £300,000? Open the door. That would be my suggestion.
I was thinking open the window.
Open the window
I imagine
and the
their
door.
windows don't open. There's new windows that look like look really big.
Safety measure, yeah. Absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, it is.
This is what I'm saying about the intervention.
Yeah, but you know that they're still wearing masks. In Scotland.
Well, you'd want to. It'll be freezing. There's a huge draft.
I think it's disgusting. That I can't believe
it's really bad. It's really bad. And so to the Mail and men's lingerie, a subject Josh Howie knows more about than anyone.
Let me just
this is where we go
rearrange
viral.
myself here, my research. I didn't know there was such a thing as.
Nor did I.
Men's.
I don't think there is.
Well, supposedly, searches have gone up 60% on eBay, which is not necessarily where I would expect this stuff to be typed in.
Second-hand stuff.
Yeah.
Previously loved.
Yeah.
Not a phrase you want.
So Rihanna launched a Savage X Fenty male range. There's glossy, flossy crop top. I don't know what I'm reading here. It's.
But it said the prices.
Yeah, £8.80.
But reduced from...
what? It didn't actually say what this was. Reduced... I don't know.
They're all reduced. There was like one
Everything.
that was 30 quid that's now 12 quid or something.
And you think that's what's...
so it's not selling?
Quickly, let's get it now! Yeah. They're calling it, instead of lingerie, mengerie. And before before the producer in your ear... it's a play on the word men.
He says he got it.
Yeah, OK, good.
He's wearing it.
Although the other one is satin boxer shorts. I do know about satin boxer shorts. They've gone up 89% searches on eBay. Have you ever had satin boxer shorts? Really?
When I went to
Actually, I'm looking
Thailand
at you
as a
and
backpacker, as a young man.
As a backpacker?
Yeah, you have these Indian tailors in Bangkok who make you fantastic stuff. And I got 8 pairs of silk boxer shorts made for 50p each or something. And I gave him a pair of my existing boxer shorts and said, make me 8 silk ones.
Burn these.
And then I was a film star at university for the next few years because I was the one with the sexy underwear.
OK.
I guess it was lingerie. It was.
That's it. You created it. Congratulations.
Who knew? We have The Independent next, which reports on a plumber of 69. Did you have anything to add on the subject of lingerie?
I'll keep it to myself. What I do on my weekends is my own business.
If anybody looked like they were into lingerie, no offence, but he does have a lingery vibe.
You do. You have the sort of clean-cut look of a man who has a dark secret.
I can imagine some leather all underneath all of this.
That's why I have to sit down. Nothing on the lower half other than that.
He never moves his body. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Right, The Independent finally reports on a plumber of 69 who's just been awarded 25 grand after his bosses called him half-dead Dave. Steve,
sorry to take this story out the back and shoot it for you, though. So the headline looks like you got that much money because you were bullied by being called Half-Dead Dave. Actually, the tribunal is about being forced to retire too early. They brought in a point system that, when you look at it, was unfair. It's age discrimination. And part of the evidence as to why he says he was discriminated against because of his age is because of the nickname. So they've just taken 2 bits of the story, slapped it into the headline as if somehow he got that money just because they gave him a nickname.
Well, I have learnt on this show just how manipulative journalism is.
And we are breaking those boundaries down.
Fake news. There is so much of it. Did you have anything to add?
Well, he used
quite
to
a funny nickname.
It's good.
Yeah, he used to be called Disco Dave. But that's how long he's been around, like when disco was cool. And it's fun. We all do a bit of banter. We all have funny nicknames for each other. Like we called, Stephen N. Allen That's it.
What do we call him?
Stephen and Alan.
Oh, okay.
That's enough.
Right.
Behind
Hilarious. Right, our time here is done, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much to my guests, Josh Howie and Steve N. Allen. Headliners will be back at the same time tomorrow with Mark Dolan in the chair, and I'll be back next week. Until then, from all of us here, cheerio!
GB News is the UK's home of discussion and debate from all perspectives.
To stay up to date on the latest stories,
make sure that you subscribe to the GB News channel
right here on YouTube.
You can watch us live 24/7 across the whole world.
You can also check out exclusive content and catch up on previous episodes of your favourite shows.
Every day, we ask the questions
that you'd ask, so why not add your voice to the conversation in the comments section?
Don't forget to subscribe. We are GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every night at 11 on GB News, we bring you the next day's stories the day before.
Basically like